Hello and welcome to another episode of the Unwanted Opinions podcast. Jay and I are back recording on a Monday at about 5:30 Eastern Time. Got some Monday Night Football action for you, which I think is probably going to be one of the best games of the week with the Ravens and the Chiefs. So we'll briefly give our thoughts on that. We had our slate of Sunday games yesterday that Jay and I will talk about. We also have the NBA Finals set. You got LeBron and the Lakers versus Jimmy Butler and LeBron's former team, the Miami Heat. So you got that storyline. We'll talk about the closing games of the two series, then we'll preview a little bit of the finals, what's going on. Doc Rivers just was let go of the Clippers, so more turmoil.
Apparently they mutually parted ways.
In Clipper land. But Jay, I was actually just going to ask how you were doing, man. How was your Monday?
Oh, good, man. It's actually not too bad for a Monday. Had a pretty good meeting, pretty productive meeting with the county today to get some things moving forward, to bring everything up to the fucking 21st century so we can get rid of all this paper.
Yeah, that's still definitely a work in progress everywhere within the company, as you know, Jay.
Well, I really think this COVID shit has put stuff into motion where people realize we need the technology and we have it. We have it at our fingertips.
Yeah. Let's access it.
Yeah, exactly. So
let's do it.
That's a little bit how my Monday went, but I'm good, man. Not as many problems as I should have for a Monday.
Yeah, I like to hear that. I was a little busy this morning, but caught everything up by about 2 o'clock this afternoon, and then kind of just was free and reading some stories about the Heat and the Lakers and the Nuggets and Celtics, and catching up on some of the stuff I didn't watch yesterday with football because, we were trying to also bringing a kid into this world is a little stressful, so we were trying to prepare more things at home for that. But yeah, good day. All right, let's just dive right into this. Clippers. I mean, it seems like there's more and more things coming out about these Clippers every week, because last week, we didn't even talk about this, Jay, but I'm sure you probably saw it, where after the Game 7 loss, Paul George tried to stand in front of the team and say, let's keep going, keep fighting, let's bring this back next year, run it back. And apparently a lot of the Clippers were rolling their eyes and didn't want to listen to anything that he said. Apparently they think they're just as good, if not better. Some of the role players on this Clippers team think they're better than Paul George. They didn't like that he got the superstar, all-star treatment because, like, motherfucker, what have you done that we haven't? I mean, you've just accomplished basically everything we have. They got it for Kawhi. They questioned Doc Rivers. I mean, it's just multiple things. And now, Jay, we just got this alert right before we started recording, and I asked you something, and you said, wait to tell me here so you could react to it. So I'll just let you react to this. So Doc Rivers was the coach for the Clippers for 7 years. Frank Vogel has been the coach for the Lakers for 1. Frank Vogel has won just as many series as Doc Rivers did in 7 years.
Really?
Yes. This postseason
Doc
alone, he's won 3 total series in his 7 seasons as the Clippers head coach. And he's also blown 2 3-1 series leads when he was the prohibitive favorite in both of those series.
Yeah, that's not good. I don't care how smart or dumb you are. I think anybody can figure out that's not good numbers. And I've been saying this for a little while now. To me, Doc Rivers is overrated. He got his, one championship?
One championship.
When he had potentially 4 Hall of Famers on the same team.
Yeah, easily 3. Rondo's going to be a borderline player at the end of his career.
Even if you take him out.
But again, 3. Yes, 3 for sure. KG, Paul Pierce, and Ray Allen.
3 all still playing at a high level. It's not like... I mean, Ray Allen was a little bit older, but yeah,
they were all at the tail end of their primes, but still as soon as they got them, they still played, I think, at least 8 more years, all of them.
So outside of that one season, yeah, he really hasn't done much, and it's just, again, another team that they don't step up to expectations when LeBron beats them, and
LeBron didn't even have to beat this team for them to break up already.
That's true. Very true. I mean, maybe they overlooked Denver because of LeBron, that they knew they had to play him, but I don't know. That, to me, Doc Rivers is going to get another head coaching job.
I think he is too.
But,
I mean, where do the Clippers go? I mean, the Clippers, I think Paul George talked about how it wasn't championship or bust this year. I mean, things don't last that long in the NBA and in sports in general. I mean, you think about it, about how many teams have such a tight window. That's what I want to talk when we get to that Heat Celtics series, because Boston, I think they're also, I know they got a lot of young guys, but I don't think they have that big of a window either. And then the Clippers, I mean, next year, after next season, depending on what happens with the Clippers, Paul George and Kawhi can both opt out. And just, I think 2 days ago, Kawhi Leonard's trainer on Twitter called Montrezl Harrell a double agent and questioned Paul George's basketball IQ. I mean, what does that say? I mean, we heard all offseason that the Lakers were supposed to be the team with all this drama, and now this is normally things that come out once you lose, obviously. So now everything is just piling up all at once. But this is a horrible look for this organization that apparently they were supposed to be the stars that had no drama, no baggage. I mean, Zubats went there and said all these guys do is focus on basketball. Joakim Noah also said that they're not Hollywood and things like that. But it's just like, damn, all these things are coming out. Maybe you guys did have a lot of drama, and I just don't understand why people didn't pick up on this earlier, because you and I, Jay, were on it from the jump. I mean, we just really didn't buy this Clippers as this ultimate team that was just going to plow through everybody and win 9-10 championships like they were the Warriors.
Yeah, they were never taking it serious. They believed they could just turn it on come playoff time. And if you remember, after the Game 7 loss, Doc Rivers came out and basically said, we didn't meet the expectations. I'm the coach. He said he would take responsibility for it. But, I mean, to me, he kind of also was throwing shade by saying, like, if we had met our expectations, we'd still be playing. But I took it as, yeah, I could have done a little bit better. But the guys on the floor let me down too. They didn't play up to what they were supposed to do either. So you got your coach saying that. You got Kawhi's trainer saying what you basically just said, throwing Paul George under the bus and Montrezl Harrell. You got Harrell clapping at the teams, at the coaches on the court. He's a wild card.
I don't think he comes back. I really don't. I think he goes somewhere else.
You got Morris getting the technical fouls and playing dirty ball. You got the guys that were there before that you had previously mentioned, thinking, we had a better team last year before these two guys got here. We played a lot harder. We played a lot better together. And then they get all the special treatment. That locker room is just a mess right now. And I don't see it getting any better next year, especially after, the narrative is always when you're winning, everything's great. But the second you start losing, all the shit comes out. The shit's coming out right now. And there's some shit coming out that you cannot overcome, to me. Step on the basketball court next year and everything be good. And everybody look at each other as my best friend. That's my brother. That's my teammate. Let's go win this together.
Yeah. I don't get it. I mean, I thought from the beginning it was a mismatched roster. I thought they had a lot of holes that they didn't address. I mean, we saw the overreaction from everybody as soon as they brought in a Reggie Jackson, a Marcus Morris. Hell, even when they signed Joakim Noah, Paul George was on IG Live with Dennis Schroeder and was bragging about getting Joakim Noah in 2020. I mean, come on.
Yeah, when was the last time he was good? Like
2012, I think.
2012, even better.
Or 13.
Okay.
7 or 8 years. It's been like that because he's not been a good player really since then. I mean, he's been irrelevant. Again, it was another Bulls team that it was derailed by injuries, but again, something else that LeBron broke up that is getting lost in history, they were supposed to be the Bulls, this fantastic team, but when LeBron beats them, the East is weak and the Bulls sucked and they never had a chance. So that was something else that you're hearing. I mean, but do the Clippers promote Ty Lue because they think Ty Lue can? I mean, he's the assistant coach right now. He's getting a lot of look from a lot of other teams in the league right now. But do the Clippers promote him because he was somebody who the Cavs, big reason why the Cavs promoted him over David Blatt had to do a lot with LeBron didn't want David Blatt as his coach, and Tyronn Lue was the guy who held LeBron accountable because he was like, I don't care that you're the best player in the game. We need more from you. I mean, there's an incredible story from Ty Lue, Game 7 against Golden State in 2016, where I think they were down 6 or 7 at halftime, and LeBron had like 12, 8, and 6 or something at half, and Ty Lue was telling him it's not good enough, we need more, because he was like, look, if we're going to win, we need more from you right now. And LeBron's like, what the hell else am I supposed to do? So he's a guy that's always going to push your stars and not give them this special treatment, I don't think. And I think Doc Rivers did that a lot which clearly rubbed people the wrong way.
Yeah, but my question is, what can the Clippers do? They're tied to Kawhi and Paul George for the next year at least, and they just signed a couple guys to big deals. They got some guys that they have to bring back.
Harold Morris
What?
and JaMychal Green were key pieces in their rotation, are all free agents. And I don't think the Clippers have a lot of money because they signed Beverly to big money. They signed Zubats to big money. Kawhi and PG have a lot of money. Like I told you, I think Harold's going to get a max contract from somewhere, or at least very close to a max, because I think he's going to ask for it. And I think a bad team will give it to him. I think Montrezl Harrell leaves. And I also think Marcus Morris leaves. Maybe they bring back JaMychal Green and just try and run it back with the exact same team. But again, I think if you stay the same, you're basically getting worse because
Because the Nuggets team they lost to me, should be better next year when Michael Porter might take that next step forward. So I don't know. The Clippers might go into next year, all said and done, as the third or fourth best team in the West.
I mean, I think this is just who Paul George is going to be for his entire career. I mean, unfortunately, to say that, it's just true. It's been that way for how long has he been in the league? 11 years ish.
I mean, he came in the same year Kawhi did, didn't he?
I think he was the year before. I think he was the 2010 draft and Kawhi was the 2011. So this was Paul George's 11th season. Yeah.
I mean, he is what he is.
Agreed. And I mean, everybody just pronounced him this great superstar without actually looking at some of the playoff duds that he's had forever. I mean, they're on his resume. Go look them up. I've outlined
it's not
them
just
a
one
ton.
or two either.
It's not just a one clunker here and there. It's especially in elimination games or closeout games. He's just been bad. And I mean, I don't know how I don't see it getting any better. I mean, I think they can try and blame it on COVID or the bubble or what, and talk themselves into thinking they're going to be back and ready to go. But I don't know. I just think there's a lot of turmoil going on in that organization, and I don't know if they have the right people. I don't know if they have the right people to steer them in the right direction.
I don't think they do. Well, they don't even have a coach now.
Well, and I mean, they don't have a star who talks.
That's true too.
And galvanizes people. Just says like, all right, follow me, let's go. So, all right, okay. All right, Jay, where do you want to start? You want to start with the Lakers, Nuggets? You want to start Celtics, Heat, and then go Heat, Lakers, or what do you want to do?
That's fine. Let's talk a little bit of Heat Celtics. I was wrong. I picked the Celtics in 7.
I did too. I really it sounds so simplistic, but how does I was texting a bunch of you guys last night. I'm like, how do 5 NBA players on the court at the same time not figure out how to beat a 2-3 zone? I mean, you figure out, if you play basketball for a long time, you figure out how to beat a zone in like 8th grade, man. I mean,
well, I think they know how to beat. I think the writing's on the wall on how to beat that zone. You sent me something this morning showing you how to beat that zone that was on Twitter that a fan put up together, but they just don't have the guys capable of doing that. What big can you put in there that you are worried that's going to hit that mid-range jumper at the free throw line or be able to drive and dish? And I mean, that's not Daniel Tice's game.
No, but they didn't even try. They never tried Jaylen Brown in that position. They never tried Gordon Hayward in that position. They never tried Jason Tatum in that position. I mean, I don't know why. Some of the stuff that they were doing offensively was just so baffling to me. And the Celtics, I mean, especially Jason Tatum, gets into that mode where he just takes long step back twos. He pulls up from 3 too often. I mean, he had so many dud first halves. I'm like, if he scores 10 in this half or 15, I mean, the Celtics probably easily win this game, because you saw towards the end, the Celtics took leads in like every fourth quarter. They just faltered it because they made so many mistakes at the end. I mean, they just took terrible shots. Marcus Smart took 22 shots in a game 6. I mean, if Marcus Smart shoots 22 times, I don't think you have any chance of winning. That's not Marcus Smart's game. He pulls up with like 17 seconds on the shot clock. They only tried threes. I just didn't understand their game plan at all. And Gordon Hayward looks terrible.
Yeah. And like you said, down the stretch when they were actually still in the game, it was like they went down by 3 or 4 and the next 7 shots were just threes.
Yeah,
It's like they couldn't take anything but threes. That's all they wanted to take. They were bad shots. To me, Tatum gets too caught up in being a superstar sometimes where he just thinks, okay, I got to take this game over now. And he just jacks up just
bad shots.
not good basketball shots. I mean, he's not open. He's not even getting that much separation on his little step back or whatever he's doing. It's not a good basketball play. So he's still got some learning and maturing to do. I thought the Celtics team would be a little better than they were defensively.
Yeah, that was another thing too, is they defensively. I just didn't think they looked right. The Heat just and to me, the Heat didn't run anything that was like overcomplicated that should have baffled the Celtics. Really, I mean, there were times where the Heat offense just gets so stagnant, and they were just giving the ball to Tyler Hero, and nobody on the Celtics could guard Tyler Hero at all. I mean, he had 11 points in the fourth quarter last night. He had that game. I think it was game 4. Yeah, it was game 4.
We're at like 36 or something.
37. I mean, it was the most a rookie had scored in a playoff game since Magic Johnson. I mean, if you're in that, I mean, obviously he's no Magic Johnson, but I mean, if you're in the same sentence as that, I mean, it's the Celtics. I thought the reason why I picked them to win specifically was because I thought offensively it was going to be so easy for them because they had 3 guys who could go off for anything in any given moment. And I thought they were going to get a better version of Gordon Hayward. And I really don't know. It looked like he was just ready to say, see ya. I want to go see my newborn son. I'm trying to get the hell out of the bubble. So, bye. But, I mean, and they were so good at isolation basketball, but that's why the Heat ran so much of that zone because it took the Celtics out of everything they like to do. They like a lot of isolation. They love that Kemba Walker high screen and roll where he can make a lot of decisions, and they just didn't have that because of what the Heat were doing. But still, 6 games you have the opportunity to beat a zone, and you just can't do it but 2 times.
Does that make you question Brad Stevens as a coach?
Absolutely it does. Because then when he tried to, and this was just so stupid of him. I mean, the Heat are such a good 3-point shooting team, and then he's trying to run also a 2-3 zone on defense. I'm just like, you don't run a 2-3 zone against this great shooting team. I mean, you saw Bam just work. Bam did exactly what the Heat or the Celtics couldn't do. He worked out of that high post, and he just either took Tice off the dribble or he found open shooters. I mean, that was basically the difference because Bam was amazing. And I don't know if you saw this, Jay, but before that series started, there was an anonymous scout. I love that these people always do that. They come out anonymously. They won't show themselves, but an anonymous scout, don't know who it was. I don't know if they ever found out who it was, said that Bam and Daniel Tice was a wash in this series. And that couldn't be further from the truth. And I think Bam saw that or somebody told him or he heard it because it looked like he took that challenge personal. Because especially last night when they went down 96-90, Tice comes back into the game and Bam attacked him like 4 straight times. Put him on that poster, hit an and one jumper over him and fouled him out. You could literally sense it that Bam was like, I'm coming at this dude because I am 10 times better than this player.
Yeah, I'm with you on the anonymous bullshit. Put your name on it. Own up to it. If you truly believe that, say you believe that.
Absolutely.
I mean, you don't have to be right. Just believe what you say. Don't be putting this anonymous. Oh, I don't put my name out there, but I want you to believe that I believe this is true. But if it ever comes out,
a Boston scout of some sort.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think
it's ridiculous.
I don't think anybody in the league thinks that Daniel Tice is nearly as good as Bam Adebayo. There's no fucking way.
No, Tice is bottom 10 centers in the league.
I mean, Tice is a decent player, but I mean,
the starting centers.
And he's also he's really helped out by having 3 other All-Stars on his team.
Yeah, who can space the floor and get their own shots.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's there. He's asked to defend and rebound. That's all he's asked to do. That's what he goes out there and does. And yeah, I mean, and there was, I mean, the Heat, I mean, they got it from so many different guys in this series. I mean, last night, Iguodala, I mean, who hit like 6 or 7 threes coming into the postseason, goes 4 for 4 last night, was a huge lift. Defensively, he's always he's smart. He's always in the right place. I also think that he's a guy who's been underrated defensively his entire career because he came off the bench a lot in Golden State, but I mean, he was one of the best defenders in the league for a very long time. I know he's up there in age and doesn't defend it as high level as he used to individually, but I mean, you still trust him in a big spot like this because Spoelstra played him a lot of minutes last night.
Yeah, I feel like the Heat earned this
They
conference
did.
or this championship appearance, and we're kind of dogging on the Celtics, but not that's not to take anything away
I
from the Heat.
truly
I
think the Celtics were the more talented team,
I
and
think
I know that doesn't always win.
The Heat to me look like the second best team in the league, which is right where they should be. I think the Heat could have done this in the West as well. I think they're that good. And maybe it's just a flash in the pan. Maybe it's just they're just having an amazing postseason run and all the stars are aligning. But if they play this well next year, I don't see a team that's going to beat them in the East again. I think they could beat Brooklyn with a healthy KD and healthy Kyrie.
I mean, we'll see. I guess I don't know. I don't want to. That's really just future casting too. But I mean, I think the Heat are going to be there because I agree. I think Bam's going to get even better. I think Hero and Robinson are going to get better. It just
And
depends.
nothing's more beneficial to these young players like Hero and Bam
Absolutely.
than having all this postseason success and knowing now going forward what it takes to get to the championship game,
They also have Dragic. I think
championship
Dragic is
series.
going to be a free agent, so that we'll just kind of see what they do with their roster. But I'm not taking anything away from the Heat either because they absolutely 100% earned this. They were the better team in almost every single fourth quarter because that's where most of these games were won. Because in a few games, the Heat came back from huge deficits in the first half and just kept working, bought into what they were doing. Spoelstra, I think, is finally starting to get some of the credit that he deserves because he was never going to get any of the credit with LeBron and Wade and Bosh that he was ever deserved of. But I always thought he was an extremely good coach, even with those guys. And I mean, he's proven it now because he's just doing. He outcoached Brad Stevens. I mean, and Brad Stevens just a year or two ago was praised as the best coach in the entire league. I mean, he was supposed to be the next Greg Popovich or the next Pat Riley or Phil Jackson or whoever clumped in there with the greatest coaches of all time. Brad Stevens was. I mean, he was already getting lumped in with all those players, and Spoelstra now is going his fifth finals appearance. I think it was like tied for sixth most by a head coach in history.
And
That's
what is he, like
that's
40 something years old?
47
Yeah.
maybe.
He's still got a lot of basketball in him.
So I don't want to. Like I said, I'm not taking anything away from this Heat team because I think they're very good. They're just, and I've talked about a bunch. They are just so tough, and they don't like give in. They just don't fall under pressure. I mean, and they're gonna come at you with everything. They're just nasty and they fight like hell.
So flip the script. The Nuggets did better than I thought and a little worse than you thought because I picked a sweep
Hold on,
and
I
I
just
think you picked
before we
six.
move on to that series real quick, I was talking about we were talking about windows with the Clippers, and
Okay.
I know that this Boston team every time they lose, I mean they've come up. I think 3 out of the last 4 Eastern Conference Finals they've lost. Last year they weren't in it, but 3 out of the last 4 years they've been in it and have lost all 3 times. Now, I grant it, 2 of them were to LeBron. 1 year they were just kind of lucky to even be there, but uh, everyone says that they'll be good for the next 5 to 10 years. They'll be good. They just it doesn't happen a lot. Like I heard Raja Bell talking about it. He was on the 76ers team with Allen Iverson when they made the finals in '01. And that was his rookie season. He was like, I thought I'd at least make it back 2 or 3 more times. He's like, I never went back ever. And he played on great Suns teams with Steve Nash and Amari and Sean Marion under Mike D'Antoni. It just isn't easy to do that. And Boston, I mean, unless Tatum finally does get to that point where everybody is lumping him in already with the best players in the league, which I still think he's got a lot of room to grow because I still think his playmaking is overrated. I think people just really overrate that. He gets in his own head and tries to just have that hero ball moment where he takes all the bad shots. And I
And to
really
me,
don't
his
think
IQ isn't there yet
I really
either.
don't think the gap between or Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown is that far as a lot of people really think it is. And I mean, Kemba's got injury history in his career, and they're just not that deep. I think they blew a lot of their picks this year on I mean, Grant Williams is a decent player, but Carson Edwards and Romeo Langford don't get any play. Their centers are a disaster with Cantor, and I wouldn't call Tice a disaster because he's a decent player, but they're just not very deep in the East. Like you said, Brooklyn's coming. Milwaukee's going to be back. Miami's still there. whatever Indiana does with Oladipo, and I mean, Toronto's still coming back, so it's just not guaranteed. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't think their window is that far. Really, I don't.
With the guy, I think they had to try and run it back again, though. I don't think they need to make too many alterations. Maybe those guys take another step forward. You need to go back and figure out what did not work and what did work this year, because I don't think they're that far off. I mean, they were one game away and one quarter away from going to the conference or to the finals. So they're not too far off. They're not one of those teams that I would worry about trying to blow up and figure something new
And I'm
out.
not saying they're going to blow up, but I just feel like it's every time that they lose, everyone's just like, oh, well, they'll be back. Oh, they still got it. They can come back. It's just not that easy, as a lot of
No,
people
it's
make it
not.
seem.
That's a good point.
So, and they talked about all these draft picks and everything that they've gotten and and they just haven't really panned out to anything outside of Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, which are great players. But I mean, I don't know. They're kind of an odd roster as well. So, all right, you were talking about the Nuggets and the Lakers. I'll let you start off that one, Jay.
Yeah, I took the Lakers in 4. I called a sweep. I thought they were just clearly a superior team. I thought they were a bad matchup for the Nuggets. Everything that the Nuggets struggle with defensively, the Lakers could capitalize on. They just snuck in one game, and the Lakers got the gentleman sweep. You gave Denver 2 games because you respected what the Nuggets were doing, what they had done in the past, how they just beat the Clippers. They are a good team, and they split the difference. They stole a game, but again, Lakers in 3 series lose 3 games total.
Yeah, 12.
So
Well, which
12
is
and
actually
3.
fascinating because the Lakers and the Heat are both 12-3, which is it's kind of crazy that both of these teams have. And you would think, based off of the media coverage, that the Lakers have lost a lot more games because of when they lose, it becomes catastrophic. But when the Heat lose, it's okay.
Yeah, I don't know. So now, I mean, I don't have too much to say about the
I
Heat
just
or
want to
the
I want to
Lakers
ask you a few
Nuggets
questions about
series.
the series
Okay.
because there was a lot of discussion about the officiating in some of these series because the one game that the Lakers apparently had submitted footage to the league about LeBron not getting any calls, and then the one game him and Anthony Davis shoot a combined 28 free throws. I think they shot 11 or 12 more total in the game than Denver did. But I think I want to just know your opinion. I guess it's more than a question. I just can't stand when players or coaches just straight up blame the officiating because it's such a cop out. It's not rigged. I mean, these guys are. This isn't rigged for the Lakers to get back to the finals, because I think if the rig was actually in, I think they would have had Lakers Celtics because that's a more appealing matchup for historical reasons. But I just absolutely hate that because if you actually looked into it, the Nuggets after Game 1 actually sent stuff into the league as well about how their guys got fouled and didn't get anything. But that wasn't a story because it's Denver. But when the Lakers do it, all you heard on the broadcast was Reggie Miller talking about it. Oh, well, they sent this in. Oh, well, they sent this in. And then after every replay, you're like, oh, I mean, LeBron gets smacked across the face on the first play of the game in Game 5, and they don't call shit. I mean, it happens all the time. I want to know more of your thoughts on the whole officiating bullshit that was going on.
Okay. I will start by saying that I can't stand how much every NBA player flops. It's not one guy, it's not 5 guys.
I
It
hate
is
it
the
too, for the
entire
record.
league. The entire league has shifted to where if you drive the basketball, hell, you could even shoot a 3. Yell, flail your arms, and look for the foul call. That's what everyone does. It's not like, again, it's not just one guy. So I'll get that out of the way. LeBron is no exception to that. Everybody flops. Everybody wants the foul call every single time the ball is driven to the basket. Can't stand it. Fucking hate it. Okay, that's done. So with that being said, LeBron is a freight train, and you can honestly probably guess that he gets fouled on probably 70% of his drives.
Easily.
When he goes to the basket, but they don't call it as much because he's so much bigger and can take more punishment. You want to talk about shit being rigged. If I remember correctly, there was a ref that came out after Michael Jordan had retired and said, basically, when you're calling the game, if Michael goes up and misses because he didn't make it If he wouldn't have got fouled, he would have made the probably foul. We'll go to the whistle. To me, no player in NBA history, besides possibly James Harden, got more favorable calls driving to the basket than Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
So
I think it was Tim Donaghy, the guy that got in trouble for also gambling on the league as well.
So I don't. If yes, when you watch the replays, LeBron gets murdered going to the basket, but I wouldn't call every one of them either because then you're just sending everybody to the line. So anytime you're playing the Lakers, I don't want to hear shit about, well, the refs favored one player or over the other. And I also did like the point that you pointed out that if it was all rigged and the rig was in and the whole league was coming together and they wanted this to happen, it would have been Lakers Celtics, not Lakers Heat.
Yeah, or
more
Lakers
superstars,
or Lakers Bucks.
Yeah, more history.
Yeah.
They wouldn't have allowed the Clippers to lose in the series before and not play the Lakers in the Western Conference Finals. That's just not what happened. The Lakers were the better team in the series. They had the better players. They matched up way better. They had someone to answer for Jokic. LeBron, when he needed to, matched up on Murray. They outplayed Denver, and I believe everyone knew that going into the series. That's why I picked the sweep.
A big thing about it was Jokic, I mean, he just had some stupid fouls. I mean, a lot of the times, I mean, in Game 5, he picked up his first foul with like 10 minutes left in the first quarter when they were up 5-2. The Lakers had a fast break, and he fouled, I believe it was Alex Caruso or whoever it was. It doesn't matter who it was, but he picks up a foul transition. I'm like, I know you don't want to give up a layup, but let that go. I mean, you are so important to what they do because you saw when they had to play Plumlee for extended minutes, they could just double Jamal Murray because they weren't worried about Plumlee getting the ball and making a play. Because if that's Jokic, it's much harder to double Murray because Jokic can make plays out of that or hit open shots. I mean, Plumlee is never in a million years going to be able to do that because he's just not talented because Jokic is one of the best players in the league. But again, and then he fouls Dwight Howard because Dwight Howard is making him work. And I actually give a lot of credit to Dwight Howard for that because Dwight Howard just made him exert a ton of energy, especially going for offensive rebounds because you really had to box guys out. That's just honestly something that's lost in the NBA now because a lot of guys don't box out anymore. And there's some teams when you shoot and you miss, everybody just sprints back on transition on defense. Nobody crashes the offensive glass. So that was something that the Lakers did, and they made Jokic work, like you talked about. They had guys to answer for him, and that was something the Clippers didn't have. The Clippers had absolutely nobody to match up with Jokic, and I guess you could say the Lakers had three, but when JaVale McGee was in, they just absolutely got torched. And so Vogel's leash with McGee was a lot shorter because AD and Dwight were playing much better on Jokic. And I also want to give a lot of credit to Jeremy Grant because I thought Jeremy Grant played his ass off those last three games. Games 1 and 2, he really struggled, but games 3, 4, and 5, defensively, he made it very tough on LeBron. He also hit a bunch of open shots. I think he averaged like 20 points for the final 3 games, and he's probably going to opt out of his contract and make a lot of money this offseason because he earned it. So I just want to give props to him.
Out.
He did?
I think so. I thought I read that today.
Okay.
I mean, I didn't know how athletic that dude was and how easy it is for him to dunk a basketball.
I mean, he is going to get he's going to be a good piece. Oklahoma
yes,
City
he is.
Probably regrets just giving him up. I mean, he's a guy that, and I think he's only 25 years old. I mean, I think he's 20, maybe 26, but he's been in the league since he was like 19. He seems like he's been in the league forever. But I think he's going to be a valuable piece for somebody this offseason because he can defend wings and he can hit open shots. I mean, that's a very rare. He's literally the eccentric 3-and-D guy. So give a lot of props to him. But from the beginning, I've just said, I mean, it was LeBron's revenge tour. We've been picking the Lakers since day one. I thought they were the better team, the best team all year. They've got the best duo in the league there's no foursome, there's no trio. It was duos. Across the league, you had Kawhi and PG, you had LeBron and AD, you had Russ and Harden. In the East, you had whoever, Middleton and Giannis, Bam and Jimmy Butler, etc., going on down the line.
Jaylen Brown.
Exactly. It was duos. And LeBron and AD were clearly the best. They'd been the best all season. LeBron bought in with Vogel, with playing defense this year more than he had in probably 6 years since his last season in Miami. And it set the tone for everybody. I still hear people. I actually don't like that now people are just saying, oh, well, maybe we just overlooked this Lakers team. Oh, well, maybe we just actually underestimated everything that they've done all season. I'm like, Yeah, I mean, give this guy some respect. I mean, in 17 years, he's reached the finals 10 times. That is tied for the third most in NBA history. And you even heard, and you hear a lot of people just claim 3-6, 3-6. But even when Miami won, Eric Spoelstra says this is hard to do to get to the finals. It is hard. And 9 out of the last 10 years, LeBron has been in the finals, giving himself a chance to win a championship. That
Yeah,
is
the one
just
year he wasn't healthy.
exactly, and exactly the year he didn't, and he probably wouldn't have because the Warriors were still together. And I mean, nobody beat the Warriors unless they were hurt, obviously. But still, 9 out of the last 10 years, this guy's in, giving himself a chance to win. That is just probably a feat that's never going to happen ever again.
I could get behind that. Looking forward, with all that being said about the Heat and all that being said about the Lakers, what is your prediction on
Lakers
games? I
in
already know you're
5.
going to take the Lakers. I will give the Heat 6.
I'll say they go.
I just feel like there's going to be a couple games where the Heat they just have it clicking from the 3, and if they just put up a lot of points on the Lakers in a couple games, I can see the Lakers losing.
I think the Lakers. I'll say the Lakers take the first 2. Miami wins game 3, and then the Lakers win games 4 and 5. I think that's how it's going to go out because I sent you that clip. If the Lakers or if the Heat try and play this 2-3 zone, Anthony Davis and LeBron are absolutely just going to tear it apart. I mean, LeBron is arguably the smartest basketball player to ever play. Anthony Davis is a 7-footer with maybe the best mid-range stroke in the entire league. I mean, he's just going to sit there and shoot all day, or he's going to make plays for everybody else. There are ways to beat this zone. It's not unbreakable. The Celtics just couldn't do it. The Celtics, for whatever reason, they just weren't very unable. And the Heat do a very good job at it. But I mean, it's not impenetrable. I mean, it's just not. I mean, and Rondo is another guy who's extremely smart, one of the best basketball IQs in the league, no matter what the hate I gave him in the regular season, which he rightfully got. I'll keep saying that, Jay. I just told you that about 2 nights ago. That he rightfully got all that hate from the regular season because he was dog shit for the past 2 years in the regular season, and he just decided, well, I'm not even going to care until the postseason because it's clear that he just didn't. And
I don't think the Heat are going to come out running that 2-3 zone that much. I think they could switch into it every now and then, but I actually think they're going to go to a lot of man-to-man where they're switching their guards but leaving their bigs.
And LeBron is going to hunt Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson. He is. And it's something that didn't benefit the Celtics was Daniel Tice was not matching up with Anthony Davis, or Daniel Tice was not matching up with Bam Adebayo. They've got a guy in AD who will match minutes with Bam and play. And I'm not saying they might both have 2 phenomenal series, but they can at least match each other. And that was something that Boston did not have. It just isn't. And I've heard a lot of today about how the Lakers have the best 2 guys in the series, which is clear. But everyone thinks Miami has the next best 3 through 10. I heard the exact same thing about Denver, Houston, Portland. They said the exact same thing. And these role players, KCP honestly has been very good. It goes unnoticed because he's just quiet out there. One game he had 18. He's played really good defense. This Laker team, their depth isn't as bad as everyone thinks it is. I just don't understand what it's going to take for people to just realize that they're just a good team. They are. And they're powered by 2 of the best players in the league.
Everybody gives everybody credit that some of their best players are missing in certain series. And everyone said it was going to be such a huge blow when the Lakers lost Avery Bradley, who would be a very big piece in the games that the series they played so far when they matched up against all of the good guards. And now they come to the Heat without Avery Bradley again, but that's an afterthought because Caruso stepped up, Rondo stepped up, KCP, like you just mentioned, has been playing incredible in his role. Dwight Howard stepped up. JaVale McGee still has some work to do, but I mean,
and Danny Green gets way too much slander on Twitter. I mean, he missed a couple really bad shots in Game 5, but his defense is so undervalued. It's insane. He's still at whatever age he is. I think he's 32 or 33. He's still a very capable, good perimeter defender. You can really
always count on him being where he's supposed to be.
Exactly. He's a very smart, intelligent player. He's never going to be out of position. and he may go 1 for 6 from three one game. I'm still waiting for that breakout Danny Green hitting 4 or 5 threes in a game, but I have a feeling it's going to happen in these finals. I really do.
In one game like that, offensively, might be all you need to
Absolutely.
secure the series.
And what a
So
storyline too about LeBron going up against the Heat in the finals again. I know they asked Spo last night, Rachel Nichols did after the game, and I mean, he was like, "What a storyline, huh?" He's like, "Let us just enjoy this though, because he's not gonna say anything after the game, right, about LeBron and whatever, because she has a player used to coach playing up against him and everything, and so Pat Riley and or LeBron are gonna get their revenge, whoever wins this series, because there wasn't any lost feelings after LeBron left Miami in 2014.
no, Pat Riley made it very clear. But to me, the better team's going to win, and I'll take the Lakers in 6.
Yeah, Lakers in 5. Man, I'm just excited that I was actually happy that the Heat won last night because that means the finals start Wednesday instead of Friday. Because then we
Yep.
would have had to wait much longer for these games to start. And I actually probably think a lot of these players, as much as they want to win, I think a lot of these guys just want to go home too. And I'm not saying that anybody's gonna. They're in the finals. There's only 2 teams left. I think you're gonna get a really good competitive series. I don't. I say in 5, but I think all games will be close. But I'll tell you what, these guys, I'm sure a lot of them are ready to go home. See their kids that didn't come, or girlfriends, or mom, dad who isn't entering the bubble and whatnot. But yeah,
And I think the Heat are playing with house money, and this is great for the Heat. It's a win-win. If they win the title, that's fucking excellent. No one expected them to do that. And if they lose, they still made it with the young team that they have. Jimmy Butler under a fresh contract, who looks like he has no intentions on leaving. He wants to stick it out. You still got your coach intact. The young guys, and this is a free agent destination. They can get somebody, whether it be this year or next year, and they have money. So if you're a Heat fan, you should be so excited about what the future is going to bring.
absolutely. And I mean, you don't even have to trade anybody to get your second star because I think he's there. And Bam, I really do. I've been on the Bam wagon all year. I've liked this guy from the beginning.
Yeah, you have.
Did you
I
like
would
that,
like
Jay?
to see
The
them.
Bam wagon.
Yeah, I heard you. I
I
was
didn't
just
know
gonna
if you. I
ignore
didn't know
it.
if you caught that.
Oh yeah, I did, and now everybody else has too. But I think they could really. If what would you? I mean, do you think they could beat Brooklyn? I mean, I think they could beat them now, but do you think they'd be favored over Brooklyn if they went out and got a Bradley Beal or somebody like that?
I don't know. I mean, I'm one who doesn't foresee the KD Kyrie situation really working out all that great.
I'm
But
with you.
I mean, if you have a healthy Kevin Durant, you've always got a shot because he's just that good as a player. But I just outside of LeBron playing with Kyrie, I think he's been a huge disappointment in his entire career, and I think there's a lot of people that would agree with that. He can be electrifying, but he's just not. He hasn't proven that he's a winning player because you look at Boston. I mean, he didn't elevate Boston at all. Boston's gotten to better places without him. So I'm just saying, I don't know. I think this Heat team's absolutely going to be there. I mean, I don't want to absolutely say they're going to be right back in this again next year. I think they'll be in the hunt because they're just that good and a very well run organization. But I got to see what Milwaukee does. You got to see what these other teams do. Like I said, I mean, I think Toronto's still going to be in the mix there as well. Philly, what is Philly going to do? I mean, Philly's got a lot of pieces that they can move to get better, just change up their roster. So I don't know. I think the Heat are going to be there, but that's still a while away. I don't even know when next season's going to start. Adam Silver said not even until 2021 of some time. So
All right.
we got some shit to see. So I don't know. I that's a boring answer, but I just don't know.
Okay. I know we're going to talk some NFL, but real quickly, we had some upsets in college football over the weekend. Kansas State had a thrilling comeback, beat number 3 Oklahoma.
I did. Yep, saw that.
Florida, they allowed 35, but still put up 51 on Lane Kiffin's new Ole Miss team. LSU fucking looked
Yeah, that
like
was
their
embarrassing.
DBs weren't even playing. They were playing,
KJ
7 versus
Costello
11.
threw for 623 yards.
5 touchdowns. So the defending champs come in and lose their very first game against an unranked Mississippi State.
Terrible loss.
I before the season even started, I got a friend that's an LSU fan. I got a friend that's an Alabama fan. So we're in a group message that I mean, this kid he was riding LSU saying, maximum, you know, they're not any more than two games regardless. They lose their very first one. I said 3 or 4 losses is the minimum going in this year. I mean, they lost basically everybody.
I
Not
just
a
was confused at how they were still the sixth team in the country. I know the rankings are weird because of,
based off of last year's win.
and I get it. I understand why. I just don't, because they lost so much, and Jamar Chase also opted out. I mean, they have, other than what, Terrence Marshall offensively, nobody from that championship team, basically.
Basically, I think
I
they
mean, they
lost
lost
their
Burrow,
entire offensive line. They lost their
Jefferson,
tight end. They
three
lost their
starters on the
receiver,
offensive line, tight end, running back,
quarterback. Yeah,
Grant Delpit on defense. I mean, they just lost everyone.
Patrick Queen on
Patrick
defense.
Queen.
Lawrence on the defensive line. Yeah, they lost some guys. So it's not the same team. They're not very good. They're definitely in rebuild mode.
Yeah, I don't think they're very good either.
Auburn controlled the game against Kentucky, beat them pretty good, 29-13. Texas won.
It was just a thrilling game. What were they down 51-31 in the fourth quarter and came back and won in overtime?
Yeah, I don't remember what it was when they started making their comeback, but
Texas Tech looked like it was over.
I couldn't imagine scoring 56 points and losing. So it was 63-56. Texas has a long way to go defensively, but they can move the ball. Ellinger is a very good college quarterback.
It's the Big 12, man. They just it's a bunch of points every week.
Top 10 team, Texas A&M, barely squeaks one out against Vanderbilt. Only gets 17 points on the board. Allows Vanderbilt to score 12. So who knows what Texas A&M really is. Miami, this is the team you got to watch out for because they've been putting up points through the first 3 games. I mean, Miami looks like you of old. Derek King fits right in there. They got some players defensively. They got a safety, Bubba Bolden, who looks like he could be a first-round pick. Miami looks really good through 3 games. It's going to be interesting to see what happens when they play Clemson this year. But, I mean, Florida State's supposed to be a rival. I get that Florida State hasn't been relevant in 5, 6, 7 years since Jameis Winston was there. But usually rival games like Miami, Florida State, Miami, Florida, they're usually close. And just because everybody comes up and shows up to bring their A game. But Miami looks tough this year. I mean, right now I'd put Miami as a top 5 team in college football without the other teams playing so far.
I want to ask you this, Jay.
Yo.
So with how you're much more into college football than I am, so I just want to ask you, what are your feelings on asterisk when it comes to the national championship this year or bowl games, or how I guess I really don't even know how they're going to do all this because of all these teams starting at different times, what the whole plan is based off of the playoff or what they're doing officially. Do you think we'll have a legit champion crowned this year in college football?
Yeah, I do. I believe that they're going to find a way, even with the Pac-12 starting in November
and the Pac-12
only
playing like 6 games.
Yeah,
that's a joke.
To me, the Pac-12, I mean, they're going to play some games.
Pac-12 probably wasn't sending a team to the playoff anyways, but still.
No, unless Oregon comes out and in their 6 games wins by an average of 60 points or something and just blows the doors off everybody, I don't see a Pac-12 team getting in. So that shouldn't really take effect in anything. And with the Big Ten playing 9 games, there's enough sample size there. I don't think this season should have an asterisk on it. Even the ACC started earlier than everybody. The SEC just got in this past week. The Big Ten's going to be in a couple weeks. The reason I'm saying I don't think there should be an asterisk and I believe the right team will win is because by the time playoffs, even with the Big Ten only playing 9 games, they will have had all that time to get where they're supposed to be. The teams, the best teams will stand out. I believe the committee will put the best 4 teams in there. There's a lot more to take into consideration.
When are they starting this playoff? Because, I mean, what are they going to wait until February?
I don't know the answer to that. I don't even know if that's been decided.
I mean, how are they going to do this? I mean, the SEC's already starting. The Big Ten doesn't even start for damn near another month.
The last I knew, they were still supposed to start in January, I believe. So the committee would
So the
pick at the end
SEC
of
is
the
going to
season.
have like a whole month off before they even have to go play another game, depending on if who gets into the playoff.
I mean, the SEC will probably be in the boat where it's basically like any other year. They just started late. You see what I'm getting at? So
I
they're not
do.
playing as many games, and they'll be done about the same time as they would have been done on a normal year. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm very interested to see how Alabama pans out because I I don't even remember where I heard it or the exact number, but basically Alabama, since Nick Saban's been there, has never really played more than 3 straight SEC games without either having a bye or a cupcake ass school in between.
That's
So
that's horrendous that that's even a thing.
yeah,
That should
so
be
now
you should feel embarrassed if you're Nick Saban
that
in
ain't
Alabama
happening this
program.
year.
No, it's
They're
not
they're gonna
happening.
play 4, 5, 6 straight SEC opponents who are very well deserving of being there, and we'll see what really happens when that gets to when they don't get a cupcake in between or a bye week in between 3 SEC games, something like that. So
Yeah.
it'll be interesting. I'm not saying that Alabama's going to lose. They're the best team in the SEC in my opinion, and it's not even close. I think Georgia is not what people believe they are because of their quarterback situation. Auburn is Auburn. I mean, they're a good team, probably going to finish with a couple losses. Alabama, I believe, will go undefeated. Florida's pretty damn good, but they got some shit defensively to pick up. But I think that'll come with time. To me, Alabama's the best team in the SEC. Then I would take Florida. Then I would take Georgia. But I don't think anybody's close to Alabama. But it will be interesting to see just how well they play when it's back to back to back to back good teams,
Yeah.
not just good team, average team, good team, bye week,
Horrible
cupcake.
team.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then
So
another good team. Yeah. I know.
that
I'm with you.
that'll be fun to watch. But I'm just glad college football's back,
I'm
and
just glad all these sports are back.
it'll be interesting to see what happens. I do believe that's what I was getting at earlier. I forgot that the best 4 teams will be picked. Whether
All right.
I think a lot of criteria is going to go into play, but like I said, I think basically unless Oregon runs the table and does it very convincingly, Pac-12's out. So then you're basically picking between the ACC. I don't think the
I
Big
mean, hasn't
12
the
even in
Pac-12 only
conversation
sent
either.
one team or 2 teams in the history of the playoff so far? I mean, it's essentially
I
the
don't know. They
SEC or
got
the Big Ten. I think Oregon has made it once, and
yeah.
Washington made it the other year. That's it. Unless I'm forgetting someone, but I believe that's all.
I think no. I think you're right. I think that would be it because
Yeah.
Oregon lost to Ohio State the year
Yes,
that
in the national
in the
championship
championship
game when they
game.
had Mariota and Washington had Jake Browning, and they got killed by Alabama.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it'll just be
So
interesting. So you want to go to the NFL real quick?
yeah, let's do some quick hitters from week 3, man. All
Well,
right.
quick hitter first right off the bat. What do you think's gonna happen tonight?
I like the Ravens at home tonight. I think it's going to be a high scoring game. I feel like it's going to be whoever has the ball last wins. You see, I mean, you're going to get this matchup every year, Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. I think it's cool that it's on Monday night, standalone game. Pretty fun to see 2 of the best quarterbacks in the league, 2 of the best teams flat out in the AFC, let alone the entire league.
Probably
So
the best 2 teams in the NFC.
yeah, probably the best 2 teams in the AFC, 2 of the best 3 or 4 teams in all of football. So good matchup. Looking forward to a good game. I'll take the
Yeah,
Ravens.
I'm taking the Chiefs. I think 28-24 final score. Chiefs just squeak one out. This Chiefs team's good, man. Like
They are.
I
The
believe they
2
had a little clunker
back-to-back
against the
MVPs
Chargers.
playing at quarterback.
Yeah, I think it was an anomaly what happened with the Chargers because
The
they
Chargers
spent their
always play the
entire time.
Chiefs tough, no matter who's on their
Well,
team. They have for years.
that too, and I really do believe you should throw that game out because they spent their entire week game planning for Tyrod Taylor,
Absolutely.
and all of a sudden, 15 minutes before kickoff, now they got this big arm dual threat guy that they have no real film to cover. They didn't study at all on the tendencies. They didn't know how the offense was going to happen. And
They
Herbert
were
made some fantastic
expecting
plays.
5-yard dump passes from Tyrod Taylor.
Yeah, and to me, the Chiefs are still the best team in the NFL. So I'm going to take the
They're
Chiefs in a
good, man.
close one. Let's run down of what happened last week, or I guess
All right.
just yesterday.
Let's start just where why isn't Dan Quinn been fired?
Who knows, man? I told you what I'd have done to him. I wouldn't have allowed him back in the locker room if I was the owner and I saw that comeback even coming close to happening. I don't care if they come back or not and finish out the game. I'm walking down to that locker room. I'm putting Dan Quinn's shit in a bag, and not even a good bag. I'm putting it in a paper bag, sticking it outside the door, locking the door, making sure he doesn't have a key to get in there, and putting a note on it that says, I don't even want to see you in person. Get out of here and never come back. What he's done is flat out embarrassing, dude.
It happens all the time. I mean, the Patriots absolutely broke this entire franchise from that Super Bowl collapse when they lost 28-3. I mean, since then, they're like 24-26. They've blown a ton of leads. They're like the most mentally weak team I think I've ever seen in my life. They have so much talent, and then Foles comes in and works them back in the fourth quarter down 16. So, and I also just want to say I think the Bears are like the most fraudulent 3-0 team I can remember in the longest time. I really don't think they're very good. I don't care who starts at quarterback. I don't think Foles or Trubisky are very good, and I don't think the Bears will. And I think once the Bears' schedule gets a little tougher, you'll see who the actual Bears are.
Yeah. I mean, let me put it this
I will
way.
never bet on the Falcons ever in my life. I haven't in a long time. I know we were really high on them last year, Jay. I will never put money on that team in the history of my life.
Ever. And let me just say this about the Bears. They're 3-0 to kind of piggyback what you said. This is how much I believe in the Bears. They're 3-0, and if you gave me the over under of 8 games, which means they only have to win 5 of the next 13, I'm taking the under.
I would too.
They're not I would say that, and what's really even more embarrassing is the Vikings, but in that division alone, I believe Green Bay is the standalone best team.
For sure.
I would still take Detroit over Chicago, even though the Bears are 3-0. Then it would be Chicago and then Minnesota.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
the Bears are just not good. And fraudulent is a great term to use with that 3-0 start. Who they've beaten, the 3 opponents haven't won a fucking game.
I mean, they've had, out of 3 games, so that's 12 quarters, they've had 3 good quarters out of 12, and that's it. And that's the reason why they've won all these games. They had a good fourth quarter against Detroit. They had a good first half against the Giants, and it's the Giants. They're maybe the worst team in the league. Didn't score a single point in the second half there, still won. And then against Atlanta, had 1 good quarter in the fourth quarter and just happened to squeak out that game.
So 4 good quarters. Yeah.
Sorry,
they're just
4, my bad.
They're just not good. I mean, they've beaten teams with a combined record of 0 and
I think they're 1-8 actually.
Who the hell won a game?
The Lions now have won.
Oh yeah, they just yep.
Yeah.
You are right.
Yeah, I know.
My mistake.
That's where I
1
am.
game. All right.
That's why I'm here, Jay.
Where do you want to go next?
All right, let's go Bills and Rams, because at first Bills went up 28-3. Rams scored 29 unanswered points and take the lead 32-35. Bills are on a drive to win the game. Josh Allen converts a 3rd and 22. They get a very favorable pass interference call on 4th and 9 that sets up the game-winning touchdown for the Bills. But the Rams are the last team to complain about pass interference calls that don't go their way. So, you got to just give a lot of props to Josh Allen and this Bills team, because they're I think just really, really good. And Josh Allen is right up there in the conversation through the first 3 weeks in the MVP conversation with Russell Wilson, Mahomes, Jackson, Aaron Rodgers, you name it, Cam Newton, you name it. He's up there. You have to put him in there because of how well he's played through the first 3 weeks. And the Rams, I'll give the Rams a lot of credit because they are a better team than I thought they were going to be. I thought they were going to look like shit. I thought at times, in that first half, they looked terrible. But through the first 2 weeks, I thought they looked pretty good. They go to Philly, beat the Eagles. They beat the Cowboys Sunday night, opening week. And then they don't quit against the Bills when they were down 28-3, and they could have easily mailed that one in. They kept fighting, and they played well in the second half. So I give a lot of props to the Rams because they actually look a lot tougher than I thought they were going to be.
Well, you basically said everything I was thinking, so I'm good to move on.
All right, you take one game then, Jay. You take a game and give me your thoughts on it.
Where do I want to go?
Hit me with you talked about how you were very disappointed in Minnesota. Let's go to Vikings.
Dude,
Titans.
they suck. Like that's all you can say. They're not very good. Kirk Cousins looks lost. Justin Jefferson might be the one bright spot of that whole day where
He looked damn
rookie out of
good.
LSU goes for 175 yards and a touchdown. But I mean, the defense just can't stop anybody. The Titans, to me, the Titans are a good team for sure, but the 2 or 3 start
I
like
think they're
nowhere
3-0
near the
by a
team they were last
combined
year.
6 points.
Yeah, they're all close ones.
Yeah. That's how they
I don't
won a
have much
lot
to
of
say
games
about
last
that
year,
game.
though, honestly.
This Tennessee's first 3-0 start since 2008. The Vikings just keep finding ways to dick up a game. They got to do something going forward. This team isn't doing anything. Like I said, they're the worst team in the NFC North, and that's a division where I have little faith in the Lions and the Bears.
Yeah.
And obviously, if you guys have listened to the past, I'm not a huge Packers fan on how I believe how good that team is. But we can get to them in a second. I'm off the Vikings. I picked them to win this division. I was wrong as shit. Couldn't have been more wrong. And I want no excuses on the roster because they still have a decent roster.
They have a lot of talent on that roster. They
Yeah.
really do. I mean, they just really tried to overhaul a defense, and it's clear that it's not working. Kirk Cousins is regressing. I think the loss of Kevin Stefanski is honestly looming pretty big for their offense. They just look like they have no energy offensively. They turn the ball over too much. And yeah, you're right. The defense just flat out sucks right now. So, and Mike Zimmer's supposed to be one of the best defensive minds in the league. They got a lot of work to do. Tennessee's just tough, man. They're never going to go away. I think they're going to be in every single game they play this year. I really think that because of just they're just grinders. Everyone on their team, they work hard as shit every play.
I'm with you.
We can just balance. I mean, I have no thoughts on Jets and Colts. I mean, Colts just absolutely murdered the Jets. The one thing I do want to say about the Colts is I know they're number one in defense right now. I think they're going to be riding pretty high the next couple of weeks because their schedule's pretty bad. Their real test is going to be against Baltimore in Week 8. So I think that's the true test to see if this Colts defense is for real. I really believe that. And the Jets, I mean, they might as well just tank and try and go get Trevor Lawrence and just maybe ship off Sam Darnold and fire Adam Gase because they're a shit show.
Yes, they are. Eagles. Fucking tie the Bengals. The Eagles.
God.
You want to talk about the Jets being a shit show? A lot of people just assume the Jets were going to be a shit show because they're bad every year.
Because it's the Jets.
But the Eagles had a lot of high hopes this year. Carson Wentz looks like he's getting worse. He looks like he doesn't know what's happening. His offensive line is trash. The defense is nowhere near what I thought they were going to be, playing on a level that they could be on. They have weapons, and he just can't get him the ball. He holds on to the ball way too long. At some point, the Eagles fans have to start blaming Carson Wentz, and I believe they have. They were booing him, wanting Jalen Hurts to come in after, I believe, the first game. And on the flip side, a lot of props to Joe Burrow and that Bengals team. They are overachieving in my mind. I do know that they haven't won a game, but a tie against the Eagles in Week 3, you got to kind of clap your hands as a Bengals fan and see that you're on the right trajectory. Joe Burrow does not look like a rookie to me. He looks like a top half quarterback in the league with the surrounding talent he has. Another flash in the pan of a rookie receiver. T. Higgins caught 2 touchdowns from Joe Burrow. So, again, future bright for one team, future outlook for the Eagles, very gloom.
I won't say much on this game, Jay, because I basically mimic a lot of the thoughts you said. You know how much I'm a fan of Carson Wentz and I love him. I can't even defend him for a second right now because they are 0-2-1. I would say primarily because of how poor Carson Wentz is playing. And like you said, their defense, again, is a letdown. But still, as the quarterback, you're getting paid. You just signed a $128 million deal this offseason. You just have to play better. It's just flat out, you have to play better. The Bengals, you talked about how they've probably overachieved. I would agree with that. The first week of the season, they miss a field goal to tie it to go to overtime against the Chargers. Week 2, they only lose by 5 against the Browns when they had a bunch of stupid turnovers. And I know it's the Browns. And then this week, the Eagles team, who you and I both thought they were going to be an 11-12 win team, because of the talent and just the trajectory we thought they were going to. So I would say the Bengals, yeah, they've looked pretty good through 3 weeks.
I mean, how bad is the NFC East that
It's terrible.
the
What if they're only
Eagles are
combined 2 wins?
0-1?
No,
How,
Washington and Dallas both have 1 win.
oh yeah. Okay, so how bad is it that you're 0-2-1 and only a half a game out of first place? Yeah, I don't know. That's
yeah.
bad. Steelers Texans. I think the Steelers are still getting their feet wet with Big Ben coming back, but that defense is going to carry them in a lot of games. I know the Texans have had a brutal first
It
3
doesn't get
weeks.
easier. I guess they
they've
got
argued
Minnesota at home next Sunday, so that should be decently easy.
they've arguably started the very first 3 games with the top 3 teams in the AFC. That's not a good look for them.
That's hard. That's hard to do,
So,
especially when
so
you trade away your best receiver.
yeah, I do believe the Texans are a little bit better than an 0-3 record. I still don't think they're that good. I do think the Steelers are pretty good. I think I would put the Steelers as the 3rd best team in the AFC right now.
I would
A
agree
lot
with
of that because their defense is so damn good. I think the Steelers have the best defense in the league, and that's going to carry them in a lot of games. So I don't have a whole lot to say other than Big Ben looks like he gets a little better each week to me.
Yeah,
And
I still think, like you said, he's getting his feet wet, kind of, with just playing again because he missed 14 games last year and didn't have much of an offseason. So I would say I agree with you. After the Chiefs and the Ravens, I'd put the Steelers right there at number 3. And I mean, they have just as good as chance as anybody to, as long as Big Ben stays healthy, because that defense is going to keep him in a lot of games.
I would say the Panthers-Chargers was somewhat of an upset, but I don't think either team's very good. And I did read that this was Carolina's first win since week 9 of last year.
Yeah, I think they had an 11-game losing streak or a 10-game losing streak or something like that. It's pretty bad.
Yeah.
But neither of them are very good. The Chargers have a lot of talent. I mean, roster-wise, but you see, I mean, Herbert's still a rookie, and he makes rookie mistakes at times. I'm a huge fan of him, but it's going to take him a little bit longer than a guy like Joe Burrow, who I think is instantly coming in and proving why he was the number 1 pick. But I think now, since you're getting Herbert a lot of good experience, I don't know why you would go back to Tyrod Taylor if you're the Chargers. This is a guy who's your future. Just let him ride it out. Get him some learning experience because it's obvious that he belongs in this league. He's just going to make some mistakes, but you got to live through them. Because did you expect to win the Super Bowl this year? No, probably not. You may say that, but you don't actually believe it in your mind.
No. The Lions beat the Cardinals. I actually picked that game in the pick'em.
You did.
I did.
I was surprised that you picked the Lions because you thought they were only going to win 1 game this year.
Hey, man, that was their one. I don't know. The Lions are still pretty bad in my eyes.
Kyler had a terrible game. Kyler threw 3 bad picks and just really bad decision making on his part. After his first 2 really good games, Kyler just had a rough one, and it happens. But I mean,
and it still took a game-winning field goal with no time on the clock to beat him.
Yeah,
with him having a horrible game. So Matt Stafford, your star fantasy quarterback, really helped you out this week.
Hey, man, I mean, I think he got up to 62 points by the end of the game. So there you go. It was
our
decent.
Scoring's a little jacked up.
Yeah.
When Nick says 62 points, that was an okay game. Buccaneers Broncos, again, everybody's riding the Buccaneers for beating an 0-3 team who have lost basically everybody.
Did you see they just lost Jarrell Casey?
I did
today.
They've lost every good player they got.
Damn near.
The Buccaneers still, the very first touchdown came off of a fucking block punt, which put the Buccaneers on the 13-yard line. I mean, the defense and special teams, I didn't think it'd be able to carry over from New England and carry them again in Tampa Bay.
That luck carries with this guy. It's the most Tom Brady thing ever that the NFC South turns into the fucking AFC East of old, where the Falcons are 0-3, the Panthers are tanking, and the Saints and Drew Brees look like absolute dog shit through the first 3 weeks. And the Buccaneers get to play, again, the Panthers in week 2. They play the Broncos, who are without their starting quarterback, starting receiver, best defensive player, maybe their 3 best defensive players, and get out to like a 25-0 lead and only score 3 points in the second half.
So
I,
I'm still on what me and Nick are gonna ride this whole way. They're gonna get fucking mollywopped in the playoffs when they play somebody good.
absolutely.
I'm just
Their schedule
uh,
does get tougher. I think they've got Green Bay coming up. They've got Kansas City. I
if I
think they have
remember
the
right, isn't there a
Chargers this
big
week.
stretch at the end of the schedule? Like they play some tough teams down the stretch.
Yeah. Like they have to go
So
to Chicago later in the year. I don't think the Bears
no
are that
trash.
good, but I mean that's still a decent pass rush coming after Old Man River back there later in the season when his arm looks like a noodle. So, yeah. And
So the Broncos have been devastated by injuries. They're off my radar. I picked them
yeah,
as kind of like a surprise team. There's no chance.
had
They
they
don't
been
have the
healthy, I
guys.
really thought they were a very good team.
Um, Cowboys Seahawks. Fucking Russell Wilson is incredible. To me, best quarterback in the league. 14 touchdown passes in the first 3 weeks, which is an NFL record.
I thought that was actually crazy because the year Peyton threw 55, he didn't even have 14 through the first 3 games. That's nuts.
Yeah, and I mean he's on pace for like 70 touchdowns or something like that. And his one interception came off of a good pass where the receiver just fucking dropped it,
It
went
went
up
off
in the
Greg
air,
Olson's hands.
and it wasn't even on him. He could have had another touchdown in this game if DK Metcalf would have just fucking ran into the end zone instead of just walking and gets the ball knocked out.
DK made up for it with that last touchdown that he caught at the end of
I
the game.
agree, but he shouldn't have had to.
I was like if he drops this or something happens, I was like they definitely can blame this loss on DK Metcalf.
Even though the Cowboys are 1-2, I thought they have shown flashes in their two losses against the Rams and the Seahawks because, as you know, we both picked the Seahawks to go to the Super Bowl. So I believe they are an incredible team, and they held their own against the Seahawks and had to go blow for blow. And Russell Wilson basically played perfect. So it took that to beat the Cowboys. So I believe the Cowboys might be the best 1-2 team in the league.
They are, I mean, a huge collapse by Atlanta from being 0-3 as well. Though you also have to put that into
That's
perspective.
true
But
too.
there are times where Dallas's offense looks unstoppable, but then there's times where there's a bad play by Dak. I mean, it happens a lot. I mean, he could have easily thrown the game-ending interception earlier, but Trey Flowers dropped it and then kicked it, and Michael Gallup caught it when they were on inside. I mean, that would have put Seattle inside their own like 20 or so. But I mean, yeah, at times they look like a very good team, and other times they look like a terrible team. And I think that's been the story of the Cowboys for the past 30 years since '95 when they won their last Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I still don't know. There still hasn't been those teams that are really separating themselves right now. And we'll just kind of finish it off with the game last night with New Orleans and Green Bay, where the Packers won 37-30, but it felt like for a majority of that game that Green Bay just absolutely dominated the Saints. I mean, it really did. It felt like there was no time where I thought the Saints were going to come back and win this game. And or even really, I think they were what 20-20 or 27-27, and then the most overrated, overpaid player in the league, and Taysom Hill comes in and fumbles, and I, what is it going to take for you, Jay, to put some a little bit respect on this Packers team?
Okay, it's growing a little bit, but still, what have they done to prove to me that they can do it in the playoffs? To me, their offense has been better than I gave them credit for initially. I will say that. But what else is new with them? They don't really have a receiving threat outside of Devontae Adams.
I don't know. I thought Alan Lazard looked pretty damn good
He had
last
a
night.
couple big time catches down the field. Their defense is atrocious. They
Yeah,
can't stop the
it's
run.
pretty poor.
Their pass defense isn't great. They've given up points against every team they've played. It's just their offenses put up points in every game they've played.
But
So
I mean, you could say that about the Seahawks. The Seahawks have given up a bunch of yards and points, and they're still winning. But everyone acts like I still think the Seahawks are a better team than the Packers. But you don't really hear anybody saying this about Seattle, really.
I just still believe that when it comes playoff time, the way this team plays, they're not built for the postseason. They're built for the regular season.
I just think this is the best Aaron Rodgers has looked in 4 years, maybe.
I don't disagree with you there.
And I think that because those 2 years, I think he did kind of pout with McCarthy, and we've talked about that before. I don't want to go down that line again. But last year, it was a new coach. I mean, I think it's no secret. Aaron Rodgers doesn't really get along with that many people. He's not very close with anybody in his entire life. But I think the familiarity with the offense of LaFleur, and I really believe that pick of Jordan Love pissed Aaron Rodgers off so much that he was like, all right, you guys think I had somewhat of a down past couple years, which if you look at the numbers was true. I mean, it really was, because they were 13-3 last year, but they may have been one of the most fraudulent 13-3 teams last year of all time. But I mean, I just think he's really on a mission this year, because I think his arm looks as strong as it has in like I said, about 4 years probably, and that's going to elevate these average to below average receivers. And Lazard, Scantling, this tight ends, Aaron Jones looks pretty damn good. So, and when Devontae Adams gets back, he's just a fucking problem for everybody.
Yeah. And the thing is, I would be so pissed off if I was a Packers fan. Could you just imagine if they would have spent their first 2 picks on wide receivers?
And they should have. And we've been over
Instead,
that. They should have.
If their defense is going to be this bad anyway, and you pick a running back that isn't even getting any play time, and then you pick
he's third on their depth chart,
a quarterback that is never going to see the field, I would be so upset as a Packers fan to think, look at what this offense is doing now. I could only imagine if I would have had a first-round wide receiver and a first-round or second-round tight end, or even reverse those, first-round tight end and second-round wide receiver to go with Devontae Adams and Jones in the backfield and just running up the score with this Aaron Rodgers. I just don't believe in the talent he has when it comes to playoff time. But I could be proven wrong. And to go across the way, I think the Saints look awful.
Saints got some issues. They've got some real
their
issues.
Their entire offense is drop back and dump the ball to Kamara.
Yeah.
That is it. Let him run and throw it to him underneath. They have no offense when Michael Thomas is not in the game.
No.
And it's embarrassing.
It's bad.
Drew Brees does not throw the ball over 10 yards.
No. And
he doesn't even try.
The thing that makes me mad is Pro Football Focus tweeted something out last night where it was like Drew Brees, something about a meme about Drew Brees throwing past 10 yards. And motherfucker, I mean, Brady's done that for 20 years. Drew Brees does it 1 year and everyone's already getting all over his ass. But no one ever says as much about Tom Brady does the exact same thing. So it pisses me off.
I'm with you, but it's very apparent.
And there's some issues there. And I think Janoris Jenkins is trying to set the record for most pass interferences called on him all in a season. I mean, he just basically in that Raiders game, I mean, he tackled Henry Ruggs to basically lose the game, seal it for him. Raiders go down and kick a field goal that ices it. Last night on 3rd and goal, he tugs Alan Lazard down when the Packers have a free play, and it's just Marcus Lattimore doesn't look very good. Malcolm Jenkins looks old, or the pass rush is non-existent. So they better get their shit together soon, because we talk about windows within the NBA. There's smaller windows in the NFL than there is basically any other sport.
I got a fun trivia fact for you, a question before we get off here, and then one funny thing someone just sent me on Twitter before we go. The first trivia question: do you know how long it's been since Green Bay went on the road to New Orleans and got a victory?
I'm going to say probably, I'll just say Favre was the quarterback.
I don't even know if he was there yet.
It's that long ago? Is it the 80s?
He was probably there, but young. 1995. I think he was drafted in 93 or 94.
Maybe that was one of his first or second years starting. Anyways, that's a long-ass time ago.
95.
We were 1 year old.
Yeah. So, and the funny thing is, someone sent this to me. They tweeted it out. It says, so PG cheated on Doc Rivers' daughter and then got him fired. That's fucked up. That man's got to hate Paul George.
Yeah, no shit. All right. Last thing, right before we leave, the Patriots took care of business against the Raiders. It's so funny how a competent quarterback in this New England offense, you don't hear about no weapons right now, because Cam Newton is producing with the exact same guys that Tom Brady couldn't last year. And there is basically...
Mind you, Tom Brady had 20 years in the same system, and Cam Newton's been
really
there for
I don't see anybody talking about that. I really don't. And it just, that's another thing. It just absolutely pisses me off, man. That's all I
Go
wanted to
ahead.
say about
Go.
that
Oh,
game.
I was gonna say, go ahead and go in on it.
No,
We've been
that's it.
preaching it for years. That's Belichick's team, the defense, the special teams, and anyone that can even somewhat comprehend an offense of the ball. Josh McDaniels will have you working offensively. He can fit it to whatever scheme. Cam Newton comes in, and this offense looks just as good as any Tom Brady's ever had.
Yeah.
And he has these same weapons that Tom Brady had last year, where that was the entire argument.
Their
Same
names
offensive
became
line.
no weapons.
Yep. So just something to keep your eye on the
infuriating.
rest of the season that
Yeah.
we've been preaching.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was our rundown of week 3. Our NBA Finals preview. We got, like I said, the Monday night game tonight. You got NBA Finals on Wednesday. Then you got Thursday night football, albeit it's Jets in Denver, which is probably going to be maybe one of the worst games of the year.
Might be the worst.
Friday night, you got another finals game. Saturday, college football. Sunday, football. So it's just, they're full swing. I like having these basically every single night, something to watch.
Agreed.
So, but you got anything else, Jerry? You want to get out of here?
Nope. I want to get out of here.
All right. You guys know the drill. Subscribe, rate, review. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Check us out on YouTube. Unwanted Opinions Podcast with Nick and Jay. Unwanted Opinions Podcast at gmail.com. Questions, comments, whatever. We're here. So get after us.
You know it. Until next time.
Until next time.